All right, well, good morning, and thank you for being here. Thank you, all these community leaders, voting rights groups, civic leaders, and of course, we are honored to welcome to San Antonio, let's just call it her second home, the Honorable Dolores Huerta. Because today is not just about the vote, right? Today is about the long line of events, the long line of leaders, the long line of ways in which we can help ourselves as a community better ensure that we hear from our neighbors. And that's why Ms. Huerta, we're so thankful that she was able to join us. In fact, diverted her travel to be able to be here for this vote, understanding the unique implications for our city, a city that is 2/3 Latino. With everything that is happening right now in our country when it comes to voting rights, with what's happening at the federal level, yeah, right? Oh, there we go.
There we go.
Okay. There we go. We'll get this right. We'll get this right. Look, all that to say, we are taking a very important vote here shortly, right? A vote, frankly, to do one simple thing: make it easier for our neighbors to vote. That's all we're doing. You can talk about, this or that, but at the end of the day, do you want to make it easier for our community to vote? That's what we're doing. I'm so thankful that we have the Honorable Dolores Huerta here, a long-time civil rights leader who has seen time and time again the ways in which we can help ourselves and make sure that we do in fact take those steps to a more perfect union. And that requires voting. That requires voting. With what's happening at the federal level and at the state level, we have a unique opportunity here locally to make sure that we save money, more importantly, hear from as many of our neighbors as possible when we're making decisions about how to invest their resources, but also making sure that we are building the San Antonio that we deserve. And that requires hearing from people at the ballot box. So we've got a number of folks in our community that have lined up to speak. A reminder of all the civic leaders that have signed on to help this: 5 former mayors, groups like Voto Latino, groups like League of Women Voters San Antonio. The list goes on. Because while we might have just started talking about this in San Antonio, or at least on the city council, those that have been doing the work for decades knows that this is not rushed. This is in fact long overdue. So at this point, I'm going to bring up Ms. Carmen Gomez, as many of you know, a longtime civic leader in our community, to provide a few remarks.
Good morning again. My name is Carmen Gomez. I'm here today to strongly support moving San Antonio's municipal elections from May to November. At its core, this decision should be guided by one principle: increasing voter participation, especially among working people and communities that have historically been excluded from the political process. I understand there have been concerns raised about potential impacts on school districts. Those concerns matter, but they should not be the determining factor in how the city of San Antonio chooses to conduct its elections. Our responsibility first and foremost is to ensure that San Antonians can easily participate in their own democracy. May elections have repeatedly produced low voter turnout and have placed unnecessary barriers in front of working families, Mexican American voters, and Black voters, communities that have already faced generations of discrimination in this city. I've also heard suggestions that this change should be delayed. I respectfully disagree. Delay only preserves a system we already know does not work. The legislature has given us a limited window to act, and the data and the history is clear. I'm proud to stand with former mayors, the League of Women Voters, the Southwest Voter Registration and Education Project, and with community leaders who have fought for decades to expand access to the ballot. And I want to thank sincerely Ms. Dolores Huerta for being here today. Your presence reminds us that progress comes from choosing decisions and participation. San Antonio should move forward, move our elections to November, making voting easier and strengthen our democracy. Thank you very much for your time today.
Next, we'll hear from Jill Tolbert with the League of Women Voters, San Antonio.
Good morning. My name is Jill Torbert, and I speak today as president of the League of Women Voters of San Antonio area. We are an organization that has been educating voters and defending democracy here in San Antonio for 85 years. We are a nonpartisan organization. We do not support or endorse a candidate or a political party. San Antonio has a voter turnout problem. In the election in which the current city council was voted into office, only 9% of the registered voters turned out to vote during Fiesta. And for the runoff in June, 17% of the registered voters showed up. The League is out in the community tabling events, talking with voters and potential voters all the time. We average being at events 4 times a week. Needless to say, we talk to a lot of voters and potential voters. And we often begin our conversation with the question, are you ready for the next election? And their response is a question back to us. What election? When is the election? What's on the ballot? People are unaware of when elections occur. The League believes that by moving its municipal election, we can increase voter turnout. Why? It will move the election to a month that is associated with voting, November. It will move it away from Fiesta, graduations, Mother's Day, and the start of summer vacations. And by consolidating the elections, which we believe should be done, we gain momentum from issues which drive people to the polls. And we saw that in November. We also have the potential to eliminate voter fatigue by having fewer elections. In the spring of 2026, we have 3 elections in 3 months. The primary in March, local elections in the first part of May, and then the runoff for the primaries on May 26th. Some council members are reluctant to move the elections. They want more time for voter input. To that I say 2 things. Voter turnout is voter input. We already know that 80 to 90% of the voters do not turn out for municipal elections. That is telling us that something is not working. We need change. Secondly, voters in other cities have voted on this issue, and they have resoundingly said, we want to move our elections to November. There is no reason to think that San Antonio voters would have a different opinion. We do not need to delay when delay means a lost opportunity. Another argument is that by moving the election, school boards will be left behind. This argument is absolutely moot. Recently, the City of San Antonio decided to extend council terms to 4 years. This means that school boards are already left behind every 4 years starting in 2027. Also, very importantly, school boards already take place in May of even-numbered years. There are school board elections this coming May. There is no major city election. The League believes that school boards and other entities should move their election too by consolidating all local elections to November of odd-numbered years. We keep partisan politics in even-number years and reduce the number of elections and build momentum for our important elections. It is the League's hope that the City of San Antonio will lead the way, and other municipalities, school districts, and other local entities will move their elections to November. There is no downside to having more people vote. Democracy is strengthened when people vote. The League encourages City Council to seize the day by voting for democracy, voting for moving the election to November. Thank you very much.
And now we hear from Mia Valderas from Move Texas.
Thank you, Mayor Jones. Good morning, everyone. My name is Mia Valderas, and I am the Interim Executive Director of Move Texas. We are a statewide, nonpartisan, nonprofit dedicated to building the political power of young people through issue advocacy, civic engagement, and leadership development. I was born and raised in San Antonio, and I'm a current resident of District 1. Move Texas started as a student organization right here in our very city at UTSA, and for 10 years we've been tirelessly working to register voters, turn them out, and influence everything that we are talking about today. I honor the work of everyone behind me. I honor the work of the League of Women Voters, the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project, Radical Registrars, Act for SA, and all of the many, many people that you have heard from in even the last City Council session and before. We're standing with even the Esperanza Peace and Justice Center, and for years we have all tirelessly organized, registered, turned out, and educated residents of San Antonio on voting rights, highlighting the importance of exercising our fundamental right to vote. Every day we are asking each other, how can we make this better, easier, and more accessible? Based on statewide trends, research, and reports, we know that the decision to move city elections from May to November creates the conditions for increased voter turnout, less voter confusion, and puts San Antonio in alignment with other major cities across the state. For Move Texas, this is the only thing that matters. Putting San Antonio voters first means making decisions with their best interest in mind, supporting policies that ensure that we can hear from as many voters as possible. Young people in particular move around a lot. They return home to vote, and this is one less election that they have to keep track of in a crucial election year, increasing the likelihood our elections will be driven by as many young voters as possible. We all dream, thank you, we all dream of a city and state that represents us all, where every voice is heard. So today, let's create the conditions to hear from as many people as possible next year. It's our duty, honor, and responsibility, because when people, especially young people, are met with access, they show up and turn out. Thank you so much.
Next, we'll have Lydia Camarillo with the Southwest Voter Registration Education Project.
Good morning, Madam Mayor, those of you that are here, leaders who are standing behind me, all advocates and leaders who care about voting. I want to take this opportunity to ask all of you that are listening right now to call your council members. Today is the vote. It's a very important vote. For over 28 years, I have worked at Southwest Voter with several positions, most recently since 2018 as president. I live in the house that we bought from 1996 in District 9 and have continued to vote there and organize communities. Southwest Voter was started in 1974 by the iconic late Chicano leader William C. Velasquez in San Antonio, Texas. Since we opened our doors, Southwest Voter has registered 3.74 million Latino voters throughout the Southwest and starting here in San Antonio. Thank you. We have won 210 voting rights lawsuits, and we have trained 160,000 Latino leaders to organize or run for public office and offices. We most recently were one of the plaintiff groups in the LULAC versus Abbott Texas redistricting case that, as you know, is stealing 5 of our congressional districts. And Maldev represents us. She's standing right here, Nina Perales. I stand before you and I ask the City Council to vote yes for a number of reasons. First and foremost, this is the only opportunity we will have. If we fail to vote yes on before December 31st, which today is the vote we're going to take, we will no longer have that. Advocates and leaders and council members have said and suggested that we have time, that we can reorganize, that we can organize. I tell you what, Southwest Voter has been working for 52 years to make sure that Latinos have a voice, and I assure you that every single time we find ourselves with voter suppression laws and excuses and policies that stop us from voting, that we have to either sue or advocate against. There is no guarantee that we will be able to move quickly to ensure that we do the move, that we're able to engage legislators to help us to do this. I tell you, we know this from experience. Second, when you have an election in November, in an odd year, you can ensure that more people will vote in this election. The data demonstrates it. We know for a fact that more people will vote for a number of reasons. First of all, we're used to voting in November. Second, people do not want to show up in May in the middle of fiesta when the family is coming in. Not that they don't care, it's that other responsibilities can come forward, and why not give them an opportunity to move in November? The data also demonstrates that given the cities that have moved their elections from May to November in other cities like Mesquite, there goes my accent, it is very clear that their turnout doubled, and it was significant. At the national level, in other cities that are moving their elections to November in odd years, their increase has been significant. Cost savings. We know that if you're having one less election, even if it's in November and the runoff is in November or December, you're not having that happen in May and June. Therefore, by consolidating, you're saving all the money that you would have spent in May. That's so very clear. There's questions about whether or not it's a true savings. You know, I can only tell you what we know right now. Dallas says they're saving almost $500,000 by moving it. And we believe that that's going to be the case here. The point is, whether it's $500,000 or $1, we're saving dollars and we're making the elections more efficient and more effective. School boards, for heaven's sakes, we love our children. We care about our schools. We want to make sure that every child is given the proper education, that every child envisions their future when they're children, that they can fulfill it by attending schools, graduating, and that we are there for them. But it's important we understand that the school districts have time. Not only do they have time because they can move whenever they want to, because this law, if you all pass, if the city council votes yes today, will not take effect until 2029, and therefore the school districts have time to make the change. Not to mention that SB 3546 gives them the authority to move where they want to. Edgewood School District has already moved to an even year, and they're having their elections in an even year. Southwest Voter promises and stands ready to collaborate with any school district to help engage their stakeholders to make the move in the future. Bonds. If you have the bonds in November, you will make sure that more Latinos are going to be voting, and Latinos vote at 83% or better for bonds, whether it's to build new schools, fix the schools that are falling apart, build construction and infrastructure, clean the air, clean the water. You want Latinos to vote. This is a city that belongs to the Latino community, and we're not voting at the levels that we need to vote. In November, we will vote, and we will certainly vote for bonds that will make a difference. Latinos understand that by themselves, they do not have the resources to fix the schools, create opportunities through the various infrastructure changes that have to be made. But we know that collectively, by paying a few tax pennies, we can make that change. I urge the City Council to vote yes, but I need all of you, as you're watching, to call your City Council now. The vote is critical. It's either now or it's going to take a long time. I assure you that history says so. All these leaders behind us and that have signed, and many of you that have sent us notes saying that I'm with you, are supporting this move. Let's not let the idea that we're being rushed be the reason for not making this vote. Remember, we didn't take this rush. The legislature gave us a deadline. Gracias.
And now we will hear from Ms. Dolores Huerta. And whether you're Latino or Filipino or gay, woman, brown, whatever, so many of us stand on the shoulders of this woman and her courage and her long time in the fight. So we are very honored that she is here today to join us for this very important vote. Ms. Huerta.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ortiz Jones. I am very honored to participate in this important issue that's before this City Council of San Antonio. You know, I have been involved in doing civic work. I started as an activist when I was 25 years old, and my first job was to go out there and register people to vote. And so I know how important it is that we have people participate in voting. We have heard a lot of talk about democracy in these days. We can think of how many millions of people have really given up their lives in our wars that we've had to save democracy. And we have a moment here in the city of San Antonio where democracy is being highlighted and where the city council members have an opportunity to show that they really do represent the people that elected them. In order to have a proper representation, we know that voting is absolutely crucial to save our democracy. So when we have a situation like the one we have here today, just to change the voting to November from May, this is so simple that one has to wonder why it's even controversial. It would seem that you know that you're going to get more people to the polls when you have only 10% of people voting in municipal elections, and then you wonder, are people getting the kind of representation that they need? Well, we know that this is one important step that the City Council can do to prove, number one, that they do represent their constituents and that they are doing the best that they can do for their constituents by voting on this measure. And also, because of the time crunch that is involved in this, you know, we don't have time to wait. We have to take this action today. San Antonio is a very historic city. It has a lot of symbolism, especially for Latino voters. So, and we know that this city has produced many, many great leaders as the people that you have here today. But we know that the one thing that San Antonio can do is show not only the state of Texas, the city of San Antonio, but the United States of America, yes, that they do believe that voting is the number one issue that we have before us in our country, and especially in the state of Texas, because as we know, what happens in Texas affects the nation, as we have just in California had to work with Proposition 50 to counteract what Texas did with the redistricting, okay? And you know, we had to spend millions and millions of dollars to pass that proposition to change our own redistricting laws that we have. So this is really important. This is not a small item. Getting people to the polls, getting people to vote, making this a habit, making it a tradition, is absolutely crucial. And this can happen right here in San Antonio with one simple vote. And I vote today on changing the time that you have the election. We know that it saves money, it's been said. You're going to get more people to the polls, and you are going to set the example for the rest of the state of Texas what we have to do to make sure that we increase the voting turnout and to really ensure that we can save democracy. Sí se puede. We've got to make it happen. Thank you. Thank you, Anna. Thank you.
We'll take one or two questions, and then we've got to make our way across the way here.
This one was actually from Ms. Huerta.
Oh, sure, Ms. Huerta, please. They don't want to talk to the mayor. They want to talk to the mayor.
Yeah, we always love to talk. Huerta, I wonder. So you're based in California. What
Yes.
drew you to San Antonio? Were you invited, or did you hear about this? What brought you here today?
Well, I have always kind of been involved in what's happening here in Texas. I was here at the big rally that we had this summer when they were talking about the representatives that had to go to leave the state of Texas to try to stop the redistricting. And we know, as a Californian, what happens here in Texas not only affects California, as I just mentioned. You know, what they did here when they changed the redistricting and redrew the redistricting line, then we had to do the same thing in California just to counter that. And in California, we had to spend millions and millions of dollars. All the organizations had to get involved, even small organizations, to make sure that we would get the kind of representation that we need in the next Congress. So we can say that we are all connected. You know, I think we're connected, all of us are connected to Texas. And when it comes to the Latino community, as I said, San Antonio is very, very symbolic. You know, what happens here in San Antonio, I think everybody in the Latino community all over the United States, we know what is going on. So this is really important. And we know that we, here in Texas particularly, that your voter turnout is very, very low. I think it's the lowest in the United States of America. And considering the large number of people of color that we have here, especially Latinos, we know that we've got to increase the voting. So today the City Council, by this vote, is going to take a very visible and a very visible step to prove that this is one easy way to increase the voting here in San Antonio by changing the time of the voting from May to November. It's very simple. It's kind of a no-brainer, actually, when you think about it.
I just meant if had you been invited by anybody in particular on this?
Yeah, I had several people that called me, and they told me what was going on. And they know of the interest that I have here in Texas and my connections here. And so I was really very grateful that I had been invited to join.
Question for the mayor. The last time we had a major city election that was impacted by fiesta, for example, was your primary election.
Yeah.
How would it vote? I mean, why is voter turnout so important when it could have potentially influenced your position here today?
Well, and so this is why good public servants always understand that it's never about one person. It's never about one election. This is about doing what's right for the community. And hearing from more people, hearing from more of our neighbors, make sure that our government and our democracy works best. That's what this is about. Thank you all for taking time to join us today. We will see you across the way. Light your candles, say your Hail Marys. All right, thank you.